Tonight, sanctuary cities across the country trying their best to call President Trump's bluff. Mayors of Rochester, New York, New Haven, Connecticut, Philadelphia, and Chicago, just to name a few, have all vowed to take in and welcome any migrants Trump sends their way. At the same time, Democrats are slamming Trump's proposal as illegal and blasting the plan as political retribution. So which is it? Do these mayors want immigrants, or is it illegal? And how do the city's citizens feel about all this? Joining me now is former governor of New Mexico, Republican Susana Martinez. Governor, great to see you. Thank you for coming in.
Nice to see you, David.
You got rid of New Mexico's sanctuary status. Why did you do it, and how did that go?
I did. It was one of the first executive orders I signed as the governor of New Mexico, and rescinded the sanctuary state status because I knew that we would become a magnet for illegal immigrants to come to New Mexico, and especially part of the catch and release and the deficiencies of the laws of immigration that exist today.
So what do you think about this proposal? First of all, the proposal by the president, and then the acceptance of the proposal by a group of mayors who live in sanctuary cities. There's an old expression, be careful what you wish for. It might be said for both sides of this, right?
It really is. I mean, sanctuary cities, the leadership in the municipalities and in the counties, what the leadership did was actually vote whether or not to become a sanctuary city or county. Yeah. But they have a responsibility to respond in a way that provides for health, provides food, provides hygiene, ensures safety of the people that are there within their communities, ensures safety of others that are not coming in illegally. But they're not prepared for the extreme numbers that are coming across. Just last month, over 100,000 individuals that are coming here illegally came to the United States. The systems are overwhelmed, and these sanctuary cities are going to be exactly in the same situation as those communities in the border right now. And
of course, Governor, as we remember very clearly, just a couple of weeks ago, it was the people like Beto O'Rourke and everybody, virtually all of the Democrat contenders for presidency in 2020 saying there was no problem. The president's suggestion that there was a crisis at the border was overwrought, if not ridiculous, that there was no problem, we can live with all this. Now it's a very different situation. Now that they've waited so long, that it is, you know, that even they have to admit that it's a crisis, but now they blame President Trump for it.
You know, for me, that is just so juvenile to blame the president for this issue, when in fact the president has been extremely reasonable on how to approach this issue. The Democrats have been so extreme, the candidates have been so extreme. It goes to show just how out of touch they are with the American people and what they want. And what they want is Congress to sit down and in 30 minutes, if they truly had a sense of wanting to come up with a solution, can change those immigration laws and the asylum laws in a way that it's workable.
Well, doesn't all of this show, or to some people even prove, that in fact they don't want a solution to the crisis, that they do want open borders, that they are in a position so that they think perhaps this will be their new constituency, all of these illegal immigrants?
I'm sorry, but the Constitution does not allow them to vote. It does not allow them to automatically become citizens. And the laws right now are not efficient in the sense of making sure that those that do come, we welcome them to follow the process, to make sure that they are following a process to make sure that they have a long-term plan to be in the United States. Right now they're crossing, and there is no long-term, whether it be a sanctuary city or whether it be just to the border cities and the communities where they're staying at homeless shelters, in gymnasiums. That is not a long-term plan. And I'm sorry, but a very few have real asylum claims. And it's an injustice to those people for not those cases going to court fast enough. Instead, they're being trained in their countries what to say, how to say it, and bring a child with you. And then sometimes that child is separated from their adult that they come with and given to a sponsor. And actually the systems are so saturated, they can't vet those individuals, those sponsor families well enough. And so we had a case just the other day where a man was arrested, a 41-year-old, where he was molesting 4 young girls. And finally someone reported it to the school and said, we're being molested by this man, but he's threatening to deport and report us to the Border Patrol and deport people we love and care about in our family. Those kinds of threats are real on a daily basis. As a prosecutor for 25 years, I saw it all the time.
And these are the people that are protected by sanctuary cities. This is somehow supposed to be good for our country, good for the immigrants, et cetera, that these awful people are protected. Governor, we got to leave it like that. I could talk to you for hours. Thank you for being here. Appreciate it.